Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are taking a look at another fun mod, this time in the form of TT's Modular MultiWheels. And, well, it is quite a fun mod. As if you know me, my two favorite things in Kerbal Space Program are rockets and rovers. I'm not one much for space planes, mainly because I'm a god-awful pilot. But, yeah, I love rockets and rovers, and Modular MultiWheels adds a lot of fun parts for making really, really cool rovers, as well as some parts for you crazy spaceplane lovers out there. But if we head over to the spaceplane hangar, we will start to take a look at some of the cool parts that this mod adds in. Now, actually, before we get going, I should mention the mod is made by Toho Torpedo, and this is actually an update of an older mod, so I like seeing it back because I did enjoy it in its previous incarnations. We're now up to, I think it's a Modular MultiWheels 7.2. Yes, that's what it says on my other screen. And it adds into the game, of course, we have a lovely truck cab for a cool little command capsule. And this is a 3-man capsule that has an internal view, which is quite a nice view at that, of the 3 Kerbals, just sort of 1, 2, 3 across. And then we also have the half truck cab, which is a 2-person capsule, which has one Kerbal facing forward and the other looking at that door, sort of sitting sideways. And I absolutely love these 2 truck cabs, and I especially love the half truck cab. I like that it has this cool little platform here where the door comes out to, because, well, that's where your Kerbal pops out on, right on a nice little platform. Keeps them steady. The full truck cab, they come up on the roof, and I've had several Kerbals so far go timber all the way down. They lose their footing, and bam, they're on the floor. So I quite enjoy this half truck cab, but both are very cool additions into the game. And if we move right along to Propulsion, we have 2 things that get added into here. The first is a car fuel tank. If we just pop it up there, as, you know, the sort of fuel tank you'd see under a car, sort of rectangular-ish, flattish fuel tank, and it holds liquid fuel. The other one is a truck fuel tank, which also holds liquid fuel and is a bit more bulbous and cylindrical and quite large. Carries a fair amount of fuel too, 100 liquid fuel, whereas the car fuel tank only holds 20. Now then, we also have over here in control a very, very useful system. It has a rover ASAS, which is quite useful, though it does seem to be a little bit finicky in what I have experienced with it. Basically, the purpose of it is to keep you going straight in the direction you were heading originally and at that speed you were heading when you turned it on. It seems, I don't know, it seems to lose speed after a while. It'll keep that speed up for a good long time, but then eventually it seems to sort of lose that speed. I'm not sure why, but that's been happening to me. But a minor issue, really. I mean, you wouldn't want to keep this baby on and walk out of the room. It's like for turn it on while you need to turn your head away from the screen for a moment, not if you need to go get a drink of water. You wouldn't want to do that, because you might find your rover in a crater somewhere. And then over in a structural, we have 2 fun parts in here. The first is a 1.2 meter offset decoupler, which is, well, massive. And basically adds a fun little part for, so, you know, you can have your cab sort of going out, or your drivetrain sort of going out backwards, and then carry a large fuel tank in the back, which is quite cool. And quite useful for rovers as well. If you've tried to build rovers from your typical sort of fuel tanks that you have in here, it can get a bit screwy when you have everything centered like this, whereas you can then sort of bump it up so you have better wheel coverage or wheel height, whatever you want to call it. And then also we have a truck crew cab, which you use to add additional crew members onto your trucks. You just sort of pop it onto the back of this thing, though I popped it on very haphazardly there, but there you go. You can get yourself some additional crew members. And we got nothing in aerodynamics. Then in utility is where the rest of the things lie. And, well, there's a lot. We have on hand a little car wheel, which is, well, a little car wheel. There you go. Nice and thin. It's, you know, not too bad at all. Let's sort of pop it out that way. There we go. It's a good little wheel, and one of the fun things about the modular multi-wheels is we have adjustable parts here. Let's actually sort of get this thing stationed upright. There we are. And you can see on here we have things like the ride height, which we can raise and lower so you can give your rover more ground clearance or less depending on your needs. You can also disable the steering, which I'm torn on this decision. Steering is disabled by default. Whenever you pop one of these wheels on, steering is off. I'm not a fan of that. I rather turn the steering off if I wish. Then we also have the drivetrain, which basically if that wheel is getting any power, because unlike the rover wheels in the main game, these wheels actually require engines to power them, which we'll get to in a moment. They're all down here. But you can turn off the drivetrain so that they do not get any power from those engines, and you can also turn off your wheel arch if you don't really care much for that. And quite fun, quite nice. We also do have some landing gear pods for you spaceplane guys out there, and look at the size of that thing. I gotta admit, I actually hadn't looked at at this yet before I started up, because remember, not big into spaceplanes, but this is rather quite large. Let's actually grab like a quick fuel tank or something just to slap these things onto the side of. There we go. We will grab you. Bam. Excellent. And whoop, grab this wheel. And well, still not great, but better than before. You can get a bit of an idea of the size of this thing. Basically, a good bit of landing gear for larger aircraft. Now, if we head back to utility, we do also have a few other landing gear modules. We have this big landing gear, which, well, is big. And it is, oh god, I may have to move this so I can actually get to things here, is actually strange when it comes to landing gear because it's actually tubular like the fuel tanks, and rather than being a radially mounted thing, it is in line with the rest of your craft, and it's quite interesting. And you get the same sort of adjustments you can make on this compared to your other wheels, and the landing gear does function similar to the small gear bay. These are self-powered, so the rover wheels require an engine. The landing gear pieces that you have do not require engines. They work like normal landing gear. And then you have another one of these inline ones, but a small one. There we go. Though still quite large in the actual diameter department of the actual landing gear in question. Just a much tinier wheel. And we also have a nice tail wheel so for you to put on the back of your planes. This baby is quite small. Look at that compared to those other landing gears. Wow. That is nice. And so back to the other wheels we have for rovers, which is what, personally, I care about. I'll leave these on for you space plane folks. We have some other wheels similar to the little car wheel. We have the steering trailer wheel here, which, well, is a wheel for a trailer. You basically pop this thing onto a trailer. There's really no better way of putting it. These do not receive any power. They just roll along, but of course, these ones do have steering, which is always useful. Then we have the single truck wheel, which is just a nice, big, fun wheel right here, and again, fully adjustable with the height and all that, just being able to turn on the wheel arch, whichever you like. And then we get into larger double wheels. So we have a vertical wheel, much like the trailer wheel here. This one is doubled up though, so we, oh dear lord, where to put this? So you can, oh, I'm just gonna pop it up here. So like with the trailer wheel, it is just an unpowered wheel that you attach to whatever you are towing behind yourself. But then we also do have a dual wheel with an axle, which we can put onto here. There we go. And it just gives you a lot more support for your heavier loads that you may or may not be carrying on your rovers. And as for accessories, we have a modular wheel strut, which you can, well, use as a strut for doing whatever you so desire with your wheels. We'll just sort of pop it there. And we also have the Magic Lift Ram, which is a ram that when you activate, it, well, lifts things. It's basically just a big pneumatic pipe that just plunges into the ground, lifting up your truck or whatever else you want to put it onto. It's an interesting thing if you need to say if you have a part of a base. You can lift it up, slide your truck under, then bring it back down, and then be on your merry way driving it away. It's quite nice. And then we have the assortment of engines. Like I said, these truck wheels are not powered like the landing gears are or the typical rover wheels in the stock game. These require engines, and we have just a basic little engine here that requires a liquid fuel and air intake, and it's just a nice small little engine that is not showing well. There we go, just a tiny little engine there. Let's get rid of some of this other clutter. Then we have a larger flat 4 engine, similar to this one, just much more power to it. We also have a modular electric engine, which, like these, but instead of using air intake and liquid fuel, it of course uses electricity. We also have the big boy, a diesel engine, which uses liquid fuel and air intake, but produces a lot more power than, say, this 4-stroke here. And we also have a monopropellant engine and a 4-stroke monopropellant engine here as well. So you can use multiple different fuels, either liquid fuel and air intake, electrical charge, or monopropellant to drive your various trucks along. And they are all quite useful, and you've got to have one of these to drive your trucks across, or else they'll just sort of sit there. But if we exit out of here and go to the tracking station, I'll show off 2 trucks that I built just before we started recording to show these off. And let's grab the, well, it was a diesel car, but I put the diesel engine on this thing, and dear lord, that engine was way too powerful. Whenever I accelerated, the car would do a wheelie, and if I kept accelerating, it would just flip and be completely uncontrollable. So I switched it out to the flat 4 engine here, which has its own built-in air intake, which is good. You don't have to strap on different space plane air intakes. You just let it roll, and if we turn off the brakes, we can just sort of move this baby along. And like I said, without this engine, like, actually, let's close the air intake so it shouldn't be getting anything. Yeah, there we go. See, I'm trying to throttle up. You can see it down here, but we are not moving because no air intake. You have to have these engines to move these wheels. So if we open it back up, there we go, and we can move around. And I gotta be honest, this flat 4 may still be too powerful for this truck, because whenever I try to slow down, it does that. Just kicks us up backwards, because I've got all the drivetrain on the front wheels, not the back. I probably should have them on all 4 wheels rather than just the front, but oh well, it serves its purpose. And like I said earlier about the truck cab, we do have an internal view if we jump in here real quick. And we've got all 3 Kerbals in line and just a nice little big rig truck. It's quite nice and enjoyable, and overall just quite cool. And yeah, these engines, they are quite powerful. That diesel one is a beast, and this flat 4 is equally beastly, but just not quite as much. Oh my god, my other rover, I forgot to turn the brakes on. It was sitting there, it's now over there. Oh yes, when we were just in the spaceplane hangar, I forgot to talk about the wheel that we're going to talk about there, so let's jump over to that one. There's really not much else to show about this car. It works like any other rover, it's just we have this engine here, and that's it. So if we jump over to this baby, I forgot to mention that we have the Omni wheels in this mod as well, which are very cool. They actually run off of the docking controls, and if you do that, these babies move in all directions. So we can move side to side, forward and backwards, and if you hit spacebar to go to rotation, you can turn this thing from side to side. You can't go forward in this mode. You can only ever seem to go backwards. Like, I'm going to press forward, and nope, there we go. See, it starts to go backwards. I'm still holding W, but it thinks I want to go backwards. And if I hit S to actually go backwards, it goes forwards. It's a little screwy. I don't know why, but in just the unidirectional mode, we can move side to side, forward and back. And if we put on staging and throttle up, the wheels lift you up in the air and lower you back down. And these things here are perfect for base building. If you build a good enough rig, you can actually just, lift up the whole base, turn on the docking mode, and, move it exactly into position so you can attach your new colony section to your base of operations on the moon. It is a wonderful little set of wheels. I can't believe I forgot to mention them in the spaceplane hangar. But these use electricity like the standard wheels for any rover. They just have the wonderful power of unidirectional travel. Oh boy, oh! I forgot how heavy that front truck cab is. I tried to add a lot of batteries to counteract it, but oh, it's still not quite right. Something to remember when you build one of these for yourself to move along your different colony bits and pieces. Oh god, let's not crash into one another. There we are. A lovely set of vehicles here. I'm really enjoying myself with this modular multi-wheels. I absolutely love rovers in this game and playing around with them on different planets, and these parts that this adds in, especially these Omni wheels, are just so much fun. And, well, with the Omni wheels, of course, if you lower yourself down, you can function like a normal rover, or, raise yourself up if there's an obstacle. I just love that so much. It's great. You just throttle up and throttle down to lift yourself up and down. And then, of course, like I said, go into docking mode to actually move around, because if you try and drive in staging mode, it does, like when you're in rotation mode in docking, it's just screwy for going forward and back. So stick in the directional mode for docking, and you will be good. But yeah, if you would like to check out TT's Modular Multi-Wheels for yourself, follow the links in the description. I definitely say give it a go. It is just such a fun mod, especially if you are like me and love yourself some rovers. It just adds in so many wonderful, cool things. And yeah, I'm definitely enjoying my time with it. And for you career-oriented folks in KSP, it does have costs and tech tree implementation, so you can still go forward with that. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and of course, that you come back for the next. But until then, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one.